Hi, I'm Rick Richardson and welcome back to the Salary Step Up series. In this step 22, we're going to be talking about practice. Now, what we're talking about in this practice is the familiarity and the repetition creating a confidence. Now, the confidence that you're going to have from this is going to allow you to present the material without worrying about not having all your facts straight and all of those little things that go into your presentation that can throw you off. And if you have done your practice properly, you will have built this confidence around the presentation, knowing how it goes and feeling comfortable with how you're presenting it. All right, so let's get started. So what I want you to do is think about the overall process of this presentation. First, you gathered the information and you learned the subject and you found exactly what you needed to support your request. So you've done that and you can feel comfortable in that part of it's done. You have the facts. You now have also tailored your request. So you've defined what your request is and you've married that to those items that you have for supporting your request. That's the leverage items, the facts that support what you have and what you are expecting to receive from this request presentation. The next part of it is to practice it. And as we're talking about practicing this, I want you to realize that I'm going to suggest some things that are layers. We're going to do this as kind of thinking about it like you're going to learn to crawl, then you're going to learn to walk, then you're going to run. And so in that progression, we're going to start out first with reading what you've written, and you're going to read it silently several times, and you're going to get the flow of the material down in your mind. And you've also learned already the memorization skills. So in the previous step where we talk about memorization, I want you, if you're having any trouble, to go back and refresh yourself with it and learn to present this in a fluid way that draws from that memorization skill. This is the one where I'm talking about where if you link it to something that you already know, like walking through your house, going room by room and putting your key points in your memory aids into that. Okay, so once you've done the reading silently, then I want you to go to reading it out loud. Now, what'll happen is by reading it silently, you're just focusing very much on what the content is. As you switch to reading it out loud, I want you to start to have a physical presentation of this. This will also allow you to hear yourself, and you'll be able to pick up on if some words don't flow right. As you are reading this out loud to yourself, if something starts to look doesn't flow well, if it doesn't fit together, it's kind of undone at some point, I want you to go back, redo that part, and then move forward to the next part. Okay, so the next part after that is I want you to sit down with a camera or your cell phone camera, it could be your laptop, whatever you've got. Turn it on and record yourself doing the presentation. One key aspect of this that I find is that it makes you a little uncomfortable. Most people don't sit and talk to a camera, and you might feel a little silly, you might feel a little uncomfortable, and that's not a bad thing. You're probably going to feel a little uncomfortable when you're actually presenting this to your boss. The more we can practice this presentation and push through that discomfort, if you could get to the point of feeling that there is no part of this presentation that feels uncomfortable, then when you go and do the presentation live, you're probably going to have that same feeling. And that's exactly what I want you to accomplish here, is I want you to start to internalize and create this comfort around the material. Now, as we're going through this process of reading it silently, then reading it out loud, then not reading it, but presenting it to the camera, you're going to create some physical movements and some gesturing, and you're going to feel the presentation a little bit. And I want you to consciously review that when you're watching the videos. Also, from the reading process to this, you're internalizing. So what you have read, and you've read it silently, then read it out loud, you've memorized that to a certain point. I don't want you to come off robotic, and I know that you won't if you do it this way, because what will happen is the actual text that you've written will start to disappear, and it will become more of your own words. And it won't come to you necessarily, word for word, just in rapid fire, as if you're reading it off a teleprompter or quoting it as if it's a memorized poem or something like that. It's going to come out in your own words. And that's what's important to me, is that it comes off natural. It doesn't come off too fast-paced, doesn't come off too slow, doesn't come off so rehearsed that you are delivering it word for word every time. In fact, it's a process that I personally subscribe to when I do these videos. And the reason is that I personally believe that this kind of communication to a camera, that someone else is viewing it later, the only way I can do that and make it seem like I'm actually talking to you real time is to not have this rehearsed to the point that I'm delivering it word for word. I believe that when people see those types of recordings, I'm not saying that they're bad, I'm just saying that they don't connect as if it's real-time communication. So as you've presented this to your camera, and I want you to do it a couple of times, I want you to, the actual recording of it the first time isn't as critical to me that you're doing that as much as it's that I want you to get comfortable in the actual presentation, a little bit of hand gestures, whatever it is that you naturally would do. I want you to watch this after you've done it and look at your own hand gestures, look at how you say things. I noticed that my mannerisms, my hand gestures, all this is basically the same from video to video. You've probably noticed that yourself, that I don't really change a whole lot from one to the next. And if we were ever to sit across the table and talk to each other live, you would notice that I'm probably basically about the same. There's not a whole lot that changes from this and a live presentation for me, or a live conversation. So what I want you to do is to review your video and see what your hand gestures are, what your mannerisms are, what is your tone of voice, what is being conveyed that is not the actual words, the tone of voice, the eye contact, all of those types of things. If you find that it's something that you feel is distracting in that, or if you feel that you're coming off too meek or too aggressive, your cadence is too fast, anything like that, I want you to go back and review that and then try it again with the very conscious effort of changing those aspects. Okay, so now you've done that, you've reviewed it a few times with the camera. The next thing is to take that trusted friend that you used in the previous step, who reviewed your presentation, to just try to punch holes in it. Now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to have that same person watch your presentation live. Now, you can, the recordings, if your friend that you trust is not where you can do this live, you could do the video recording and send it to them. But it is better if it's live. They're going to have a much better perspective, and they're going to see your physical gestures and how you go in and out of it, and you won't be editing any of it, so that they're seeing the whole thing. That is what we want from this person. We want to make sure that they also understand that we're not asking them to tell you whether or not you should do the presentation, whether you should go for the pay raise or promotion or whatever it is. We're letting them off the hook with that. We're just saying, please give us your honest opinion of what you see, where you think I am strong and where you think I'm weak in the presentation. That critique is going to go back into your presentation in the form of reviewing, strengthening, and then representing this again to a recording. If you feel that it's something that you've done so many changes, you need to ask your friend to watch it again, then you do that. All right, so as we've gone through all these steps in this practicing process, I want you to realize that it's Nothing that you have to perfect the first time. In fact, I don't want you to perfect it the first time. I want you to stumble a little bit. As you stumble in the first phase of reading it silently, and then you make a correction, then you read it out loud. You find some parts where the words just don't flow smoothly. You make a correction. You've now internalized and you've reinforced the information that you're going to be presenting, but you've made corrections in the presentation. You've filmed yourself. You've watched that film. You've then made some corrections. You've asked your friend to come and watch it. They've critiqued your presentation, and now you've made some other modifications and corrections. And it's that constant correct course, and you veer off a little bit and you recorrect course. That is where you're going to find your best benefit, your strength in the practicing process. That focusing and refocusing and reinforcing the material in your mind. At the end of that process, your confidence level will be much, much, much higher. And I really don't know of a better way for you to do this than to go through these steps. At the end of it, you'll have your presentation down pat, but it doesn't come off sticky and robotic and too mechanical. It comes off very human, very personable. Okay, so now you've practiced the presentation and you've got it pretty well defined. There's something that might not be clicking quite right with this. And this, if you feel that this is missing, I want to give you a couple of pointers. It needs to be very comfortable. Now, the words you're using helps that, the voice inflection helps that, and the body language definitely helps. If you're feeling that this is not coming off as smooth and as warm as you want it to, and when I say warm, it doesn't have to be warm, fuzzy. I'm talking about warm in that it's human. It's a live interaction. What I want you to do is I want you to use a couple of the techniques that we've done before, which is the deep belly breathing, the diaphragmic breathing that I taught you earlier. Another one is that I want you to take on a physical posture as if you just scored a touchdown or you just finished a race. You've just won something. And those physical mannerisms that we do instinctively when we win, when we triumph over something, those reactions, interestingly, no matter what your sport is, what you do, they tend to be the same thing. People throw their arms up in the air and they jump around a little bit. And if you take on this posture prior to doing your presentation, along with a couple other things I'll talk about, I want you to realize you can create this state of mind, and this state of mind that takes on a physical manifestation. Okay, so one of them is to put your arms up in the air in kind of a V pattern, and like a triumphant type of thing. So you put your arms up in the air, big deep belly breaths, and another thing you want to do is you want a big smile on your face. The bigger the smile, this is going to look really silly on this, I know, but the big smile actually makes you happy. There's a physical reaction that triggers something in your brain. It's subconscious. I won't go into all of the details here, but it makes you have a physical happy reaction. So if you want to do this in front of a mirror, it actually works even better, because in the mirror you look silly, and in that silliness it makes you happy too, or at least it breaks down some of the nervousness. Okay, arms up in the air, big smile. Remember a time that you were very triumphant in something, and then you can take that attitude and you put it into your body. So to maintain it, I want you to sit up straight. I want you to project your chest a little bit. Now, you don't have to get crazy about this, and you're not like doing some big muscle man thing, but I want you to have that very confident. Sit up straight. You're going to project out. You're going to make eye contact. You're going to shake hands firmly, but you're not going to crush their hand. All that kind of stuff. I want you to think about that. If there is a person that you've encountered in your life that did that, and it can just be somebody that you saw on a movie or TV show or something like that, if you can relate to that and put that picture in your mind, you're going to be able to deliver that persona even more. Now, it's going to come off as you doing that. Not that you're faking it, but that you have generated those genuine feelings inside, and it's going to come out in your body language when you're presenting. So after you get a feel for doing that, and this works in any situation, by the way. If you're having kind of a down day or you want to start your day in a better mood, look at yourself in the mirror and big smile, and then it'll change your attitude. It's not a fake it till you make it. It really is a physiological, subconscious thing that goes on with your body and your mind. All right. When you're ready and you've practiced and you feel comfortable, move on to step 23. That's the last step in the series, and you should hopefully be feeling really good about this. And I'll bet that you have a really clear picture of it. If there's anything that feels at all weak, go back to that other step and review it. If you feel that the video wasn't clear on it, I can pretty much guarantee that the text from the newsletters is going to be very clear on it. And if you want the newsletter text in an audio format, we put this together in podcasts also, and you can review that. So you've got all those tools. I'll see you on step 23. I'm Rick Richardson. This is the Salary Step Up series. Thank you for watching.